Start recording. Attempt number 2. Hopefully it won't crash. All right, I'm Pat.
Okay, I'm Jeffrey.
Hello, Jeffrey.
What's up?
I don't know. What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about Hitler Patrol.
Hitler Patrol.
You know, I think we all put in a good few years.
Yeah. Who's on Hitler Patrol this week? What are we watching out for?
What do we want, in terms of Hitlerdom?
Yeah.
Well, we have fucking female buckwheat over there saying that everybody that voted Republican is basically a threat to democracy.
Who said this?
Whatever her name is, the black Jen Psaki.
Oh, I don't even. Yeah, I don't think I've ever even seen a press conference with her yet.
She's fine. She just she gives the same dumb answers her predecessor does.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
have to read off the same script.
Of course, it's the same group of a-holes doing it, and then there's the governor who basically, I think she said in no indirect terms, Republicans get out.
Where was this?
New York.
Oh yeah, well that's not going to happen.
Governor of New York.
Yeah, the Upper West Side will have something to say about
Idiot.
that. I don't even know who it is.
Kathy Hochschul.
Okay.
She's the
Do I
one
need to know who she is?
Well, she was.
Is she a Hitler? Do I need to watch out for her?
I don't think she's a Hitler.
Okay.
I think she's. I mean, it depends on how closely you rate governmental Karens to Hitlerdom.
They're pretty far.
So, like, if you're
Annoying, but yeah, threat to existential is, an existential threat to democracy. I don't think so.
No.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. And if you're asking me to break out, I mean, you have congressional Karens on both sides. This is not a unique to one party sort of.
I think that's actually a feature of Congress, isn't it?
It goes against the fundamental argument of just vote for somebody that's cool. Like you can tell, like, fucking.
You can never get
look. No, you look at certain Congress ladies and you're like, this bitch would ask for your manager. You can tell it's.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I've ever had the chance to vote for somebody for Congress in our district that wasn't
a guy.
Well, no, destined to win. So, it's...
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's whoever the Republicans pick around here, that guy's going to Congress. Right. And so I remember when the last guy retired, he had basically anointed his, allow me to introduce you to my son. Basically. And so I don't even think I've ever even bothered to fill in the box on our state rep, or I mean on our Congress. Our what is it? The House of Representatives, our representative.
Right.
Now I always cast a vote for the senator, for the 2 senators. We got one coming up this fall. But that one's probably not quite as locked in. Yeah. So, but I mean, the state's gone pretty far blue, and so I don't really see it necessarily going back. To how it used, because I mean it was a red state 20 years ago.
It was. I mean, it wasn't a.
Who's our governor? Bill Owens? Yeah, we had a red governor for fucking 12 years in a row.
No, but it wasn't a red state. It wasn't a.
No. But I remember when both of our senators were Republicans. So you met one of them. What was it, Hank Brown? Didn't you? I think it was Hank Brown.
No, you're right. I don't remember his name. I'd have to. I think I have his business card around here somewhere, but
he's probably dead.
well, then it's a collector's item.
Then it's a collector's item.
No, and then we even had a conversion, because Ben Nighthorse Campbell was famously D for a while.
And then he
flipped
went
R.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Was that during Obama when that happened? I think it was. No, it was before?
That was closer to the... it was following the 92 wave.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't... Yeah.
Yeah, because it was...
he was there for the fucking... the Newt Gingrich takeover, the hostile takeover?
I remember the phrase was... They called it the contract on America.
Oh, right, yeah.
It was the contract with America.
Yeah, I know, but yeah.
But yeah, if I recall, Tom Daschle and Dick Gephardt really rebranded it.
Oh my God, those are old. Old names, man. So
yeah, I know. We're sitting. You like old references, guys?
Yeah, you like one? Let's talk about Bob Dole. Bob Dole. Bob Dole. Bob Dole.
But yeah, they did a fairly effective job at. And look, I'm going to say that's not bad. That's like scam track levels of
Contract
twisting the name. Yes, that's pretty good.
That was pretty good. Yeah. That was a long time ago, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's Clinton era.
Oh yeah.
I saw Billy Bob on a YouTube video the other day speaking. That guy looks like he's about 90 pounds soaking wet.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. So
he looks like he's suffering from like 5 kinds of syphilis.
Syphilis. Yeah, all the claps.
That's just known as like applause. He's got
applause.
He's got like a standing ovation of fucking STDs.
Yeah.
Well, because it's weird because he's gotten skinnier, but the red bulb on his nose has gotten bigger.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Actually, I got to tell you, he was looking pretty pale in this video.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, their bulb was still there, but yeah, he was looking pretty pale.
His ass is old. Let me just put it to you that
Is it? How old is he? He can't be older than George W. Bush, or at least not much.
Well, George W. Bush is gone, isn't he?
No.
Oh, Herbert Walker.
Yeah, Herbert Walker died like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like 90 something. So
Yeah.
yeah. Bill Clinton's probably older than George W. Bush.
Yeah.
George W. Bush was pretty young when he got in office. So, but I bet you Bill Clinton's only maybe like 8 years older than he is or so. Because Bill Clinton was like the youngest elected president at the time. He was like right there with Kennedy.
Yeah.
And then George W. Bush was almost the exact same age as them.
Yeah, but that's like 8 years later.
Yeah, I get that, but I don't know. When you hit like 70, 78 is kind of the same. You know? So
Man, yeah, a lot can happen in those older years.
I understand that. Yeah. But he was looking pretty ragged. So I haven't seen his wife lately, but
I've seen her. She
looked the same.
She still has Clintonian features. Like you'd pick her. You'd
She's
pick
not
her.
related to him.
No, but here's the thing: is if Hillary Clinton committed like a crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking like a any kind of like office crime. If she like robbed a 7-Eleven and
Give me all your money, motherfucker.
so she robbed a 7-Eleven and the Manhattan police dragged in like 7 lookalikes for you to identify her out of a lineup.
You'd still pick her up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see if she actually makes an appearance. So
Oh, she's guaranteed to.
do you think she's actually going to take a shot for office?
100%.
Yeah, see, I'm not 100% on that, man. I'm going to give it about a coin toss.
I'm not 100% on anything, but I would say that the 3/4 chance,
Okay, so you're going to give it 75, so 3 out of 4.
if not more. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with my coin toss on this one. I'm not entirely convinced that she would be able to muscle her way back in to the table. I don't know if she actually has the juice to be able to do that.
It's not a question of muscling in. I guarantee you that in some whether or not it actually thrusts her to the top, where people find a way to stomp her head down prior to her taking center stage and sinking the entire ship.
Right.
I guarantee you she will throw her name in that.
See, okay, now I'll contest that too. I'm going to give that about a 50-50. So, because I think that she would actually have to she'd have to Clinton the place up and run around and make sure that she had all the support lined up before she actually pulled the trigger on something like that, as they do. And so I don't think that I'm going to give that a 50-50 that she can actually gather that kind of support. Now, if Joe Biden has a stroke in the next year, okay, I'll up that shot. The odds. If Kamala Harris has a stroke in the next year, I'll up the odds on that. But I don't know, man. I just, she is so, I mean, even with like nowadays polling. So where they ask, like, oh, if the election were to be held again, she is terrible.
Yeah,
So
I know.
nobody fucking likes her. So,
but that doesn't prevent her from. You have to. You're not negotiating her narcissism into this.
No,
where it comes down to.
That's the 50% that I think is going to work. So.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That narcissism will not go anywhere.
Yeah, but I don't think it. I don't find it to be invincible. I don't think it'll overcome all of that. So, well, I mean, and if she did run, certainly she'd lose. So, I mean,
yes,
yeah. So
yes.
I mean, Democrats realize that too. So,
but they knew that before.
I don't know if they necessarily knew that before. So,
I'm fairly.
I don't think so. I don't think they knew that in 2016. So
in 2016, no, that was a done deal.
Well, she didn't run in 2020. So
well, no. But I'm not. What I'm saying here is prior to that, when she basically ran up against like Barack Obama and everything like that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And when she didn't get her way, she cried literally.
I don't really. Man, that's. God dang, that's 14 years ago now.
I know.
Fuck.
I know.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Look, we opened with the
Hitler
Gingrich
Patrol.
years, and so at that point where the whole thing was like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to act as masculine as possible during this whole procedure, and then at one point she's like, that's not working. Let me go ahead and break into some crocodile tears.
Yeah.
About how this whole shit is unfair. I'm like, fuck you. Get out of here.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah.
You disingenuous piece of crap.
I guess at that point in time, I was just like so happy that Barack Obama actually won the primary that I didn't pay any fucking attention to her.
Well, that was supposed to be hopefully for me at that point, I was like, cool, this represents a new turn in breaking away from the current political establishment.
Yeah. But, he seemed a lot younger. So
he did?
Even though he really wasn't that much younger.
No, he looked younger. And to be honest, there's something to be said about like he looked like he was in shape.
He did. Yeah, even though he smoked like 3 packs a day.
Which I thought was cool. As a matter of fact, my favorite photos of him are the candid ones where he's just kind of like...
chilling. Yeah, on a stair step when he's like 19. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm talking about like as an adult where it's kind of like he's got the candid over the shoulder look like I don't want to... Like, don't take a picture.
Don't take a picture of me right now. Yeah, so...
This is my break time. But yeah, I thought that was great. But yeah, it just turned out that he Trojan horsed a lot of the fucking establishment crap back into that.
I have no problem with Barack Obama. I really don't. In fact, I've grown more fond of him over like the last 2 years. I was a little salty with him maybe his last 2 years. So, yeah.
I'm salty that... Look, my whole thing is that I actually expected a greater deal of change.
I did too.
Now I will argue.
But for what see, this is why my entire political sand has been falling from beneath my feet on this one.
Well, the first,
because he actually did a lot of things that have worked out pretty well.
Okay, so obviously my first thing would have been. Back then would have been a great time to start leaving the Middle East.
Yeah, he did backslide on that.
He did, and
that's legit.
That absolutely happened, and the drone strikes were through the roof.
Yeah, how much more were they than Bush, though? I don't know the answer to that. Everybody says more, but I don't think it's been declassified to the point in time where we actually know exactly how much more. I don't know.
I can't give you an exact figure. I mean, I can tell you about different things that I've read, and what I can't say is like, where'd you get these numbers?
Yeah, man, fuck. There is so little that I trust that I read anymore. Man, you gotta wait now a while before like shit starts to come out real. So,
Look, I mean, there's enough direct quotation to turn your crank as is right now. Like, this is like, why would you go out there and say that the only form of danger that people pose to the government in opposition is with F-15s?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Mr. Biden had a speech yesterday where he made a lot of crazy statements about guns, where he was talking about, he's like, well, you know that the bullets from an AR-15 travel 5 times faster than any other, like, bullet. Like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, he's talking out of his ass.
He's absolutely talking out of his ass.
He fucking does it all the time, man.
Well, and that was the thing. That was the argument where he was like...
To be fair, the previous guy did too.
I'm not defending him.
Yeah,
don't bring him up.
So, but I still can't get a straight story on that whole Mar-a-Lago thing. We gotta wait.
It's fucking stupid.
There's a guy that I know who's working on it. I'm waiting. So I trust him.
But the other thing was that he made the argument that this was basically the point of saying, like, give up your guns. And I used to hold to this argument where he's like,
that's never gonna happen.
He's like, well, you're not gonna oppose the government unless you have an F-15. Now,
well, that's kind of true.
Well, here's the problem.
That's like classic, like, we're seceding from the Union fashion.
Patrick, the problem here is you can't say that, but then also hang around and say, did you know that those unarmed guys on January 6th were going to topple the whole government?
Yeah.
Like, oh, because I guess they had F-15s. I'm like, guys, just stick with one.
They can't. It can't do it, man.
It's so stupid.
No, I mean, it's the whole thing where, so if he's gonna get up there and say something like that, and make a case for gun control, all right, that is targeted to a very small audience, but everybody's listening.
Right.
So,
yes, you have your guys there that hear that. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, of course, he's not going to do fucking jack and shit about it.
No.
Because he can't. All right. So, I mean, if you talk about, like, 2 rock solid provisions within the Constitution, that one's actually probably a little bit more rock solid than even the First Amendment anymore.
Yeah, because the first one you can actually, there's room in there to actually debate.
Yes. Well, I see a lot of people try and debate the second one, so we don't know what a properly regulated militia is, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. A lot of people point to the National Guard on that one and say that's what that is. And then, but that's not what the founders necessarily intended on that one. So, but then again, this was 1776, where the rifle that you pulled off your mantle was as good as the one the military had.
We understand. Oh, yeah. Yes, and
but the point is that that thing is so fortified over the years.
Yeah.
So, and the same thing with the First Amendment. So it's been so fortified over the years that, you have to overturn a fuck ton of case law. I mean, like 10 times, 100 times as much as like it took for them to overturn Roe. So that's too heavy a lift for any single Supreme Court. So that would be decades. That would take decades to do that. So, and so he perfectly well knows that. The guy's a fucking Yale lawyer. He knows. So, so yeah, he's just saying things to actually get the left off his ass. So
no, I totally understand that. And now for me, of course, I'm like, just don't say it. Just like
I understand that.
Just go back into hiding.
Just go back into hiding. You actually govern better when you shut the fuck up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's that angle on this. Like, don't. There's a free pass on saying stupid shit because, it's the wealth of stupid shit that comes out that makes people practically invulnerable.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really have to dial it up to 12.
Absolutely. Yes. It's
so, as aptly done by a previous president.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Showed you how to do it.
Because again, I'm gonna throw this out there is that dude lost because of COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He lost because of COVID. It wasn't because of dumb shit. It wasn't like, can you believe what he said? Nope. It wasn't because of wow, look at this lawsuit. I'm like, look.
Well, okay, so 2 things. Number 1, he lost because of COVID, which is terrible timing and bad luck. the guy also didn't do jack shit for 3.5 years. So,
Not really.
which is fine, okay, but still at the same point in time, I mean, people expect a little bit more action, out of that. And then so like COVID wasn't a self-inflicted wound, okay, but the fact that he couldn't survive COVID, I would argue that was actually a self-inflicted wound. So, because if he had just done a little bit more, okay, like even policies I disagree with, if he had actually finished the fucking wall, okay, and said, hey, look at my fucking wall, okay, I said I was going to do it, I bet you he probably could have carried through, because Joe Biden won by that little, so.
Well, and keep in mind right now that the Biden administration is now actively fixing that wall.
Well, absolutely. That's because they fucking Donald Trump and Joe Biden agree on like 95% of the shit. So they really do. If you look at their policies, fucking Joe Biden hasn't changed a lick of Trump's China policies. He hasn't done anything on immigration. Okay, really.
Well, that's not true. There are small things that he did.
Yeah, but they're
in terms of like 10,000 extra.
Right. Yeah. They're fucking bones to throw to certain constituencies in the big D party, tent. Okay, I totally get what he's doing there. Now I don't know if he's the guy who's smart enough to be able to do that. All right, we still don't know who the octopus brain is. I have no idea.
Just got this before,
yeah, I still don't have a good answer. So, but yeah, he's just doing those things. But still, at the same point in time, I mean, like, look how much he dragged ass on just about everything, even this like student debt relief, which is a nothing burger, The more that we look at it, the more it's just like, oh, actually, there's exceptions for this and things like this and all this different shit. Okay, so you're just going to nickel and dime it down. All right. And on top of it, it's really not that big of a deal. Okay. I mean, but why did it take you 2 fucking years to do that? It's because he didn't want to do it. He basically agrees with Donald Trump on that, So, I had a guy that I was watching a couple weeks ago. He put it in really good perspective. All right, if you think about it over time. Okay, Donald Trump was the first progressive president. Okay, or populist president, first populist president that we've had since Theodore Roosevelt. Okay. Yep. So. First
what are you basing your argument on populism?
So populism is someone who's like completely anti-establishment, all right, and tries to actually like go against, like just try and ride the wave of popularity wherever it's going to take you.
Okay, I have to ask you. All right.
Yeah.
Now, do you mean that in terms of as actually being that, or presenting yourself as that?
Well, maybe both. I mean, I don't know how you could tell the difference between the two. So,
well, because I'm going to tell you that the entire Obama campaign was specifically that.
It was, but it didn't feel the same as Donald Trump's. It wasn't a great big middle finger at fucking George Bush.
Well, no, this is what I'm saying here is, so Donald Trump, I would make a greater argument that he was a protest president.
Well, yeah. So that's what I'm defining as populist.
Okay, because the man, it was completely billed as a populist.
Yeah.
Obama was.
Yeah, but okay. So the other thing is you got to couple that with your policies. So I guess you're talking genuine.
That's what populist. I'm saying is like.
So Donald Trump
get in underselling that versus yes.
So populism, Donald Trump's like a weather vane. He'll go to wherever he gets paid, okay, on certain things. All right. Joe Biden's the exact same fucking way. And that's what this guy was arguing. He's like, Joe Biden is the second most populist president we've had since Teddy Roosevelt. So, it's funny watching him try and govern because that's why he has to like run over to the left every now and then and say, hey, I said this thing. Is that cool?
That's kind of interesting. Yeah, because I suppose there is a piece of this where one thing he hasn't done is there are dumbfounded dipshits like your AOCs and that kind of stuff, which give him flack every now and then. But I noticed that he hasn't really called any of them out in return.
Yeah, he won't.
As a matter of fact, it's kind of like, all right, well, they're picking on me. So
he does it in private, though.
I guarantee it.
No. There was a video that I saw a little while ago where he's in a conference with members of like the Black Caucus.
Yeah.
He's reading them the fucking riot act on this thing. All right. So he's like, I did this. Where's my love? Kind of thing. It was really interesting. So
wouldn't you?
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it depends. I mean, maybe like you'd have to actually have the right people in that room. All right, in order to actually call them out. So I don't know if I'd read the entire Black Caucus, that riot act. So
well, no,
I'd pull a couple people and say, hey, who likes
like,
to throw rocks at my car every morning?
that would be like, I heard what you said.
I heard what you said.
Yeah, no,
I got you on my Ring camera.
I got you. Yeah. That's true.
So my package.
I'd say, like, I had to tell you last Thursday at 1:30, okay,
right,
when you walked away with my Acer keyboard,
right, yeah.
right, and my Razer mouse. But yeah, it's the weird thing about this is, yeah, there is a little bit of that call out, and I agree that's something that you should do, right? But I mean, I don't know what to tell you when, again, within this week, okay, the man went out there and is now campaigning on defunding the police is a bad idea. We need to spend more.
Joe's doing that?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that doesn't surprise me. That would actually, I bet you that's actually like his true north on some things. So it does come out. Well, I can't guarantee it, man, because the guy's like fucking spinning compass in a storm. So, but, there's definitely certain things that it's just like, I can't see 1988 Joe Biden saying that.
Well, no.
Defund the police. I can't see that.
Why? Okay, what evidence do you have of that with legislation that is strictly involved with him?
Well, he was the co-sponsor of the crime bill.
That's what I'm saying.
Which everybody likes to bag on with some serious justification. So
look, I get the parts that they look in hindsight and say, private
prisons might be a bad idea.
Right.
Yeah. So should we tie all police fundings to arrests? So...
yeah.
So to specifically marijuana busts.
Yeah. I'm telling you. So yes, if you're on that crew, it becomes very odd to then turn around, jump on the bandwagon of fuck 12 and ACAB.
I don't even know what fuck 12 is.
It's a dumbass way of saying the police.
Oh, okay.
It's standard graffiti. When I visited the boarded up remains of the bombed out Baghdad area of Portland, when I went to visit my mother,
the part had been like civilian droned.
Christ. Yeah. The when I'm sitting there looking at all the boarded up shit and crayon murals of George Floyd, with the F-12 and all this other stuff, dumbass crap that was written over there. Yeah, so you have people like him that was on board with that. And here's the thing is, yes, what we're seeing here is we're seeing huge crime problems in areas that submitted to this, and now it's like, well, that wasn't, Yeah. No, I was never about that. It's like, yeah, you were.
How much legs does it have, though? I mean, I haven't seen any pictures of Portland in a while. So, is it better?
I haven't looked. I don't know, but I also haven't asked my mother. Not that she would spend any time out there, but yeah, there's that.
Kind of curious.
I mean, a lot of this also has to do with like the shit going on in New York and the shit going on in California.
Well, see, that one's funny though, because that's one that actually I saw something on the other day. Was LA's actually cleaning its shit up. So, and I know, like, you hear a lot of stories about that, but then there's a couple of things that I watch and keep, kind of tabs on, and one of the guys actually from LA. So, and he's like, so a month ago it looked like this. And he says, then 2 weeks ago, the cops came in and forced all these fuckers out.
Oh, you're talking about the homeless situation?
Well, just that, but also the crime as well. So, where he's like,
well, it's not like these two things aren't unrelated.
Yeah, I'm sure, there's probably quite a bit of overlap. I wouldn't say it's a one-to-one correlation. So,
well,
okay, so like a lot of communities, they have large homeless camps because the housing there fucking is insane. And so, I mean, if you want people working at McDonald's, they're going to live in a motorhome somewhere. So, that's actually a thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you have communities where your homeless camps, see, it's kind of interesting because I've actually seen a couple stories on some that are kind of like self-regulating in some respects, and so they don't let people come into them who are hooked on shit. So they'll call the cops, even though it's a homeless camp. They'll say, hey, this guy's, fucking smoking crack in here. So And then those are actually kind of interesting because they're more migratory. And so they kind of go where the jobs are. So it's kind of like, remember a couple of years ago, the stories about the Amazon fucking caravans? Do you remember that?
No.
So a couple of years ago, there were a bunch of stories about these basically motorhome caravans that would go from between major Amazon centers. Okay, because Amazon would post temporary work. Okay, so like, we got an overage in this warehouse right now.
All right.
Okay, so we need people for the next 6 weeks. And so there were like literally roving bands of people who would like, stay in motorhomes and shit, drive to those individual like centers, okay, and then work temporary contracts like 6 weeks. And since it was a community, all right, if they'd hear about another one, they'd pass it around kind of the community and say, hey, like, okay, fucking Milwaukee needs some help. Do you guys want to roll? All right, and they would vote on it and the whole fucking thing would go. All right, so,
A flotilla.
It was basically a worker flotilla. So, yeah. And so apparently some of these, like, in some of the neighborhoods in, like, some of the larger metropolitan areas, not all the homeless camps are just fucking riffraff, okay? There's actually migrant workers within them. So
I wouldn't doubt that. Yeah. But at the same time, I'd also... Look, there's a reason that they're forcing legislation, forcing votes on whether or not... New York and Los Angeles both have legislation going in place about whether or not unoccupied hotel rooms have to be given to the homeless.
Yeah.
Right?
I wonder if that's actually going to pass in New York.
I don't know.
Yeah. New York's got weird politics now, man. So...
I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people basically...
My understanding is that there's a lot of New Yorkers that are fucking sick of, like, who was the previous guy?
Bill de Blasio.
Bill de Blasio politics. And so there's actually, like, this pretty healthy backlash going on. So I watched some lefty podcasts, and there were a bunch of them last week that were bemoaning, like, the destruction of a number of progressive candidates in state house seats.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I don't care about the politics, about the details and stuff like that. I don't keep up with New York politics. But it just kind of illustrated the fact that New York's kind of a weird duck. So
it has to be.
Yeah.
And it's going to be. So, and it...
LA seems much more monolithic. So...
Yeah, for a point. The places that... Okay, so if LA's improving, okay, I guarantee you that the Bay Area is falling apart. And that is
it's
where...
been falling apart for 20 years.
Well, this is where people are like, they're losing their... This is... Look, I'm telling you, the weird things where... Like school boards are being flipped and things like this.
Oh yeah, that
are
did happen.
Actually, big deals, right? Because that's something where, in terms of local control, they were able to say, like, "Look, man, you guys are taking this too far."
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah,
and I get that, right? That's actually all right. And I made this point earlier on. I explained this, when I was talking about American politics with, a couple of foreigners and stuff like that. I said, what?
No, go for it, man.
Well,
I don't want to interrupt your point.
No, I was just saying, like, you just have to enjoy the middle times. She's like, what do you mean? It's like, well, because we don't, like, if we're cold, we don't set the heater to 70 and let it go medium. We set it to 85. All right, until we melt, and then we put it back down to freezing.
Yeah.
And you have to enjoy those time periods between the pendulum, because there comes a point where that snaps. You ride it all the way up.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you ride it all the way down, and just enjoy those times in the middle, right? Because when they get to the ends of those points, you start seeing stupid things.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know, man. This is why I'm starting to kind of see it for the theater that it is. Someone made this point last week that was great. It was like politics has become sports, and like we've become like we've let we've allowed politics to become like a sport, and now we expect our sports to involve politics. And I thought that was a fucking brilliant point.
Quite nice.
Okay, because it's just like, all right, so if everything becomes a fucking arena battle, okay, that kind of makes sense. But if you actually look at policy and like things that like change big time, you have to look pretty far back right now to find something that fundamentally changed the way that, like, like people's lives were actually affected. The last one that I could actually think of in terms of this was like truly like Obamacare.
I was gonna say that the ACA.
Yeah, the ACA. Yeah, you know, just because it was like, because like I was talking to some students about this a little while ago, you know, and just kind of like illustrating. It was like, you know, I get the Medicare for all argument. I think it has merits. I don't think it's nearly as affordable as people think it is. But at the same point in time, really what Obamacare did was it really knocked the big teeth out of the tiger.
Right.
Yeah. So, because the really bad one, if you remember, was that pre-existing condition bullshit. Yeah, that was one where you hear stories about someone who, you know, they were 55, okay, they just changed employers, they had to wait 6 months, and they had this pre-existing condition that carried over from a previous employer, and now they don't get cancer treatments, and so they're selling their fucking house.
Yeah.
You don't hear those stories anymore. So
I mean, you still hear some, but I mean, it's not
they're rare.
Well, that's the thing is they are not. But look, Patrick, the other thing is what I do not know is, all right, it could be happening, right? But I can tell you that that was a focal point of basically like news reporting for a time.
Yeah, right? But like remember at the time, even the Republicans had to come up with some kind of like plan to address this issue because so many people had stories of bankruptcy and shit like that at that time that were based upon this, that it was literally becoming, it was literally
leading cause of bankruptcy, yeah.
Well, yeah, it was literally pushed to the middle of the spectrum, and so everybody has to pay attention to it right now.
Yeah.
Right now, the only people that I hear those stories from are the people who absolutely positively want to go the socialism route. And so if it really was that big of a deal, they'd be banging that drum a lot louder. So, you know, and it sounds like they're banging it pretty loud, but it's just not, it's not the same as it was back in 2010 when we were doing this thing, you know?
I hear you. What the point I'm trying to make is I can't confirm that and I can't refute that. The only thing I can tell you is things that seem like a big deal come and go within 2 weeks. So I don't know.
That's a really good point.
Like, look, I'm telling you, if the Mar-a-Lago thing happened in 2010, this would be the huge news for like 2 months.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
People are already forgetting about it.
Yeah, that's just because you always got to serve. Like it's like hot food, man. You got to serve it, and you know it goes cold really fast.
Absolutely.
And so nobody here is into leftovers at this point. You know what? Speaking of that, that's one of the things that I was gonna mention today. About like, you know, when I was talking earlier that you can't trust almost anything that you read anymore unless you actually circle back and look at the follow-up story afterwards.
Oh, right.
So
right.
My favorite example is something that we all bitched about on the podcast like 6 months ago or something like that.
Ooh, what?
Jeff Bezos and his brain going smooth.
Oh.
Okay, and getting that fucking yacht and dismantling that bridge.
Yeah.
It's all fucking bullshit. So you go back and look at it. All right, so the whole thing is like you expect he's tearing down like fucking London Bridge.
No.
Or something. No, it's not. It's a fucking lift bridge. All right, and they routinely take this thing out. It just fucks up traffic all the time. Okay, so it was just this one thing that, you know, people were like, fuck that, man, stop doing this. All right, especially since you have a yacht that needs to have masts that are mounted in a different port anyway. Just drag it there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly. You had to go all the way back and look at it. And so what happened in this, it was like, oh, okay, I'll just do that. So it wasn't this big old fight and kind of thing. It was like totally played up by the entire press. But yeah, and so they got the whole thing and they didn't have to remove the bridge or anything. It was just like, yeah, okay, we can drop masts in the next port. It's cool.
Nobody sold that story that way.
Nobody sold that story. No, and I didn't even buy it that way because, of course, you know, like it was like, and I think Jeff Bezos' brain has gone a little bit smooth, all right, but he doesn't involve himself in shit like the way he did like 2 years ago. Nope. He's like, hey man, I got a lot of money. I'm gonna eat a Big Mac.
Okay, so there's a little bit of like eating a Big Mac for sure. That's like, there's a part of it's like, do any of you fuckers know how to enjoy retirement? Because I mean, yes, theoretically you're all active.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's working on it. So, yeah.
You know, because frankly, like, I know that Bill Gates is making the news way more in the past year than he has been in the past 10.
I think he makes news because people love to tell him to shut the fuck up. So, you know, everybody's tired of Bill Gates, you know, and so every time that he says something, there's a few lefties out there who are like, oh, hey, Bill Gates said blah, blah, blah. We need to worry about climate change. And then, so for every one of those, there's 9 people who like to jump his shit. So, and so that's why they click on the art. What the fuck is that guy saying now? Kind of thing.
Well, their biggest concern right now is the sheer amount of land that he's purchasing.
Yeah.
And look, I only say that because of like the old Montana circles that I used to run in.
Yeah, sure.
Where they're like, why is this asshole buying this? Where am I going to ride my snowmobile? I thought this was America.
Yeah. Where am I going to go elk hunting now?
Where, yeah, there's this weird dichotomy where it's like, you've impacted me by buying this land. I would blow you away if I saw you touch my fence. Like, I
don't think I need to buy any land here, man.
I get it. Like,
but he's buying farmland, right? Or is he buying like fucking ranch land? I don't even know.
I thought it was mostly farmland.
Yeah.
I'll have to look into this more because I guess the question is like, the problem here is that the duration of the butt hurt is so much to the point where I lose the facts because somebody's butt hurt about this. I don't know why. Somebody's mad at Bill Gates for something.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of that, if I recall, a lot of that was he decided that it was he'd open his nerd mouth about fucking vaccines, and
that was one.
The tide has sort of turned on that. There are still some people that like to bang that drum and like we need to charge people that are unvaccinated with reckless endangerment. Fuck off.
Yeah, no,
like, you people are done. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't even listen to anybody who said that right now. I'd be like, hey man, you need to join reality with the rest of us. So, the pandemic's over. There's a lot of bad fucking feelings going on about it. So this is a ship that just needs to sail off into the sunset and just fucking forget
let it die
gracefully. Yeah, let it die gracefully.
Do the opposite of what the South did after the Civil War.
Right, yeah.
Like, hey guys, you know what?
Don't don your COVID hoods.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of
chasing down the locals.
Exactly. I don't know what kind of weird fucking post-COVID Jim Crow shit we got going on here, but
mask on the outside.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Performative masking. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, because that's the whole thing is at this point is now that that's happened and now that that's all over and done with, the same thing with this is eventually kind of like where the U.S. came with the U.K. was like, all right, so we had a fight, couple of fights.
Yeah.
Right? You beat us, we burned down your White House. All right. We've had 2 slugs, right? Can we like shake and be friends now?
Yeah, we should be cool.
Right?
So yeah.
It's like you got us, we got you. All right.
Yeah.
We're good.
We're good.
And then we sort of became besties afterwards.
I gotta be blunt with you. I think we're getting there. So, and I think it's going a little bit faster. So, let me give you just an anecdotal example of this. So, back into on-ground classes now, in person and stuff.
All right. Yeah.
So, last spring, I'd say everybody was wearing a mask. Mm-hmm. Maybe about like midway through the semester, they stopped.
Okay.
Onesie twosies.
Yeah.
You see some people who are a little bit uncomfortable with that, and some people who were kind of proud of that.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, all right, we'll knock that stuff off. But unfortunately, like my classes were small enough because most of them were still online that it wasn't really an issue. So this fall classes are full. So in my classes, I've got I've got one fairly big one, and there's like 1 or 2 people in there who are masked up. All right, one of them's got a heart monitor.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and that's the point. Is everybody's like, oh, nobody's going to say anything to her. I'm not going to give any shit for wearing a mask. Absolutely. Kind of thing. Yeah. And then, like, in the other class, I've got somebody who's on oxygen. And so that person wearing a mask, nobody cares.
Right.
It's like, no, that's absolutely fine, man. Yeah. No worries. And so I think that's where we're going to kind of be. So.
Oh, no. Yeah. And the whole thing where, look, I wasn't a firm enforcer of the 6-foot distancing, back in the day either.
No.
I understood it.
Yeah.
And I also okay, well, look, I would say that closer proximity to you increases my likelihood of getting sick or getting you sick, right? Like, that's fine. You know what? I can get on board with this. And so, to this point, do I really keep my distance that far? Not really. Unless the fucking person behind me is, like, fucking Darth Vader coughing or whatever. Like, and I don't mean that in, like, just coughing. I mean, like, if you hear that, like, yo, man, you are...
Right. That deep well cough.
Yeah, I don't want to imitate it because you've heard it. You've heard somebody at your movie theater do it for 2 hours straight. You know what cough that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give you 6 feet.
Yeah.
But I probably would have done that in 2016.
Yeah. I don't know. So, I went and bought gas the other day.
Oh my God.
I know. Rare. But, so the card reader, it's like, go inside. And I was like, fuck. I don't want to do that. Let me go to another machine. So I do it again, and the card reader's like, go inside. I was like, all right, it's not the machine, it's my card.
Oh, okay.
And sure enough, I go in there, and it's still got like those feet on the floor.
Yeah.
And fucking A, if people weren't standing on them, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, have you noticed that? It was just something that I noticed. I don't know exactly where that fits in the narrative, but it didn't seem like offensive. It didn't seem silly. It didn't seem like even noticeable until now that I'm thinking about it, you know? Kind of thing.
I'm with you because in hindsight, it's just, I don't want to say it's a positive outcome or a negative. It's just an is. When it turns around to it, it's like, I don't mind having a little extra room in line.
No. Yeah, I mean, I don't need, like, full helicopter arms.
No, of course not.
So, but I mean, just a little bit is actually kind of nice, rather than... Because I remember that, especially, like, in the grocery store, where people would get right up on your ass.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And, well, actually, the worst place that I noticed... Well, actually, I have to get
the bank used to be the worst.
So I haven't gone inside a bank in probably a decade.
Yeah, but remember that decade ago when that line would be out the door?
Yeah. I guess I remember that being a kid, so that was more than a decade ago, but like any place that had like a self-checkout that wasn't well organized.
Oh, yeah.
Then like, because you'd have like a pot of 4 and then everybody kind of stands in the 5th position. So kind of thing. People would roll right up on your ass in that thing because they want to try and get out of the aisle or something like that. It got to the point in time where I stopped using it because of that.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, it was like, well, they got cashiers here. They're unionized. I'll pay them. Even though I know that you need so many of them per contract per shift. So, but whatever. It was just one of those things where it was like uncomfortable. And like at the gas station the other day where people were like still standing on the little feet.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice, so...
I don't have a problem with that.
No.
That's a little bit of civility I'm willing to... because it's not... I mean, obviously the worst lines I can tell you that I've been in have been general admission concerts.
Oh, yeah. Amusement parks.
Yeah, stuff like that. Again, there used to be things like for buying tickets.
Sure.
Things like that. But these are things I don't do as a... fully formed adult. Back when
full wrinkle brain.
I'm sorry. Yeah. It's at this point I've seen my 200 concerts. It would be very extenuating circumstances to get me to go to a live performance like that. It's like, even though it's like, even if it said on the ticket, it's like, come Jeffrey, they're going to sing Happy Birthday directly to you. I'm like, that could be any Jeffrey. It's not that unique of a name.
It's like a nightclub. I can't ever see myself going back to a nightclub ever again.
No, that's the only guys our age that are going to like nightclubs are like Armenians, like guys with like exposed chest hair.
Exposed chest hair.
Yeah.
And it, like not giving up on the bald yet, So,
not even close.
Yeah. So it's like, no. It's like your co-owner is really noticeable in blue light.
Yeah, and you're talking about dudes that are just... They're trying to stretch a little bit of juice a long way, where it's like...
It's the last bit of peanut butter in the jar.
It really is, man. It's like, do you know who I am? It's like, no. It's like, Well, do you know who Phil Long Ford is?
Right, yeah.
Like, I'm aware of him. Are you Phil Long? It's like, no, but I work there.
But I work right.
I'm the second general manager. I mean, if you're, talking about...
Right, yeah. I'm the younger McDivitt.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, younger McDivitt doesn't need to advertise. People come to him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, oh, you handsome devil. You
Right. I saw him on the local news.
You strip mall ass lawyer.
He is our Saul Goodman, man. So kind of expect his office over there to have a giant Statue of Liberty on it.
Yeah, the Constitution. Yeah,
in the background.
Yeah, the We the People.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I have to, and I will try to present this in an objective way. I'm soliciting opinions on this because I got into
You get a fight in PvP server.
No, I'm not talking about that. This was a real debate that I had with a real student.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
Okay. So I'm going to do my best to try to not tip my hand as to which side I'm on. Okay.
Good luck with that.
No.
I'd rather have the full tilt.
No. I'm going to try and be objective. Okay. Now, I make this patently clear. I don't follow that much pop music. Okay?
Oh, okay.
I follow modern music, but I don't follow a lot of pop music. Okay? Some people do, they enjoy it very much. Okay? And the topic of a singer named Adele came up. Are you familiar with her?
I know Adele, yeah.
Okay. I know
Rolling
maybe
on
two.
the Deep, yeah.
Yeah, I know maybe, maybe know 3 songs of hers.
Yeah.
Right? And one of them is like the theme from a Bond movie. But
she's got wicked range, man. So
she does. Yeah, she's fine. It's just like I don't care.
Me too. Yeah.
Well, okay. So
I think my wife likes her. Yeah.
Sure, look, there's plenty to like. It's just like, this music has very little to do with the Devil's Travels to Georgia and fiddle contests. So it's. But whatever, right? So to preface this, Adele's net worth is about $220 million.
Okay.
She's very successful.
Yeah.
Okay. And what came up was that in an interview, she talked about how these depressing love songs that she wrote stemmed from a relationship with a bad boyfriend.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the question was, okay, whether or not the boyfriend should be entitled or granted any sort of voluntary compensation for his role as the catalyst of these popular songs.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm trying to stay objective, so I don't want to tip my hand into either side of this. But
do you want my opinion?
Absolutely, yes.
Well, no.
Why would you say no?
Because he didn't write the song. So,
got it.
I mean, if she wants to do a magnanimous gift to him, that's great, fine. I mean, that would reflect well on her, but I think if she kept it all to herself, it reflects neutrally on her.
Okay. So
now, if she sued him and took like everything that he owed or something, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know what grounds she'd have to make a suit.
I have no idea. But if she did it like completely, if she like completely outed the dude, and he had a career that was going and she kind of wrecked it or something like that, okay, fine. That's a different discussion. But like if, it's a relationship that she's used as basically her muse, so to speak, or like to channel, it's what generated the emotions that she was able to actually channel into, her artistic works. Yeah, those are hers. So, because ultimately she made the decision whether or not to share them. So.
Right, and I can acknowledge that.
Okay.
Right, and this point was acknowledged, right? The issue here is that, okay, so if she hadn't in an interview, okay, mentioned this person, and to my knowledge, she didn't mention him by name.
Right? Well, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
But the point on this here is 45 years ago, that would have been a secret, okay? As of this point, you could probably go on Facebook and figure out who this person is.
Figure it out.
Easily, right?
Yeah.
So the thing I'm saying here is, all right, so with that, okay, one of the points of contention is that, number one, that this story doesn't exist, okay, without that person's place in her history, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that's...
By her admission.
By her admission, yeah, but I wouldn't say that's like... I would say that's conditionally true. So...
Well, that's what she said.
No, I understand that, but just because she says that doesn't mean that, like, well, if that relationship hadn't been bad, then she wouldn't have gotten another one that actually inspired her to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
right.
you know, I mean, I get it, but...
Well, and of course, the alternative is she didn't have to cop to that. There's no reason for her to say, like, oh, no, this is about a friend of mine. This is about... It's not about anything, right? Yeah. She's under no obligation to volunteer that information.
Well, who's the other artist? Well, yeah, I know, but did she actually out the specific person?
No.
Yeah, then she's completely good. She doesn't owe him shit. So,
but that's part of the issue is you do not have to work hard to put the pieces together.
Yeah, I get that, but she didn't do it directly, so there's still, like, it's still subjective. So at that point in time, there's enough deniability with it, you know, to say, oh, well, you know, were you talking about this guy? He's like, well, are you going to ask me about all the people that I, you know, showed as being, you know, in a relationship on Facebook? If you're going to do that, then the answer is no comment.
Right. No, I totally understand that, right? But here's the concern, right? Is, okay, yes, so from a legal standpoint, it seems cut and dry, right?
Well, yeah, and that's my default way to go.
Okay, now, here's the thing, is if I were to take a picture of you,
sure,
right, and without your permission, put my company's logo on it, okay, you'd probably come after me, right? Because I didn't ask you, or I'm not compensating you for that, right?
Yeah, but, like, you'd actually have to cause me harm. So, before I had, like, any kind of, like... So, like, if you did that and the company was, oh, Waffen SS, cool, and I lost my job after that, then, yeah, I would come after you.
Well, no, okay, just because you're talking about the part where you have to prove the financial loss, right?
Well, yeah, but... So, in order to actually, like, be entitled to some kind of compensation in that case, you know, I would actually have to incur some kind of, like, harm. So, you know, I mean, if I just said, well, like, you used my picture... Right. You know, now if my mug was famous, okay, and my likeness was actually my bread and butter, then I'd be like, you're stealing money out of my pocket, and then I'd come after you. Okay?
But that's the thing. That is your identity.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, this is where for me this goes beyond the legal, right? So if you're going to essentially use someone's identity to profit, right? Especially given the conditions where you are telling your version of events of the story, okay? Yeah. Right? Where a person has really no recourse, given the sense that, you know, that you're a professional singer, right?
Yeah, sure.
I would think that you would happily say, look, you know, hey, I'm using you to make my hit songs. Here, let me rake you off a piece.
That would totally depend on how that relationship went.
I don't think it would matter.
If the dude beat her up and that's why she broke off her, then fuck that.
But we don't know that.
Right, that's my point.
Right.
All right, we don't even know who it is. So if she wants to be magnanimous about it and share that, I think that's her choice. I think she has no moral obligation to actually do so. So I see your point, though.
No,
I do see your point.
Do you think she should?
If I was in her position, well, like, yeah, I'm just going to caveat it with that one thing. If, like, I look back on it and say, hey, you know, I was young and dumb. We both said really stupid things to each other. And so, you know, I'll look at you, you're taking trash bins out. You know, I'd probably hook you up. Okay? I'm not going to give you half.
No,
but I might feel like, hey, you know, what kind of bills do you got? All right, so I wrote this song. It was about us. It was a long time ago. It's totally cool. I'd be happy to actually knock that mortgage out for you or something.
Right.
I got $220 million. Cool.
Exactly, right?
All right? But if it was like, oh, well, no, he slapped me around and got drunk every night. Fuck you. So, you know, and here's what you're missing out on. By being a dick. That's... I don't have a problem with that. I would actually trust her judgment on that one. Just because she's got $220 million, I'm not going to say she's a bitch. So I'm not going to say she's out of touch.
Absolutely no.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that at all.
But I'm not going to say that she has a moral obligation to do that. So
I would argue that she should have a financial obligation to do that.
I see your point, but like, I don't see identity as being quite as sacred, especially like today.
It's all you have.
I get that, but like, I mean, I don't really see it as being something that rises, like, especially as a nobody like myself. All right, I don't see it as being something that rises to that level where she has some kind of legal obligation, because she didn't identify me, specifically, and so okay, fine, so like, all right, it could be me, it might not be me, just because a bunch of internet toads can figure it out, cool, but I mean, ultimately, that's true of everybody, so,
if she had named you specifically, would that
if she named me specifically, yeah, because I would actually probably incur harm at that, especially like imagine Adele's probably got like fucking millions of fans.
Yes.
All right, I've got a Facebook page. All right, what's going to happen to my Facebook page? What's going to happen? I'm going to get doxxed in 5 minutes, and so, yeah, at that point in time, I was like, look, you fucking upended my life. All right, and so, like, I was fine. I moved on. I realized I was a dick or whatever, and now I have, like, 2 kids who I can't even drop off at the bus stop anymore. Yeah, that's a harm. So, yeah, you're going to fucking pay me. No, okay? So, but if you don't do that, she's not stupid enough to do that. So,
well, so let me cite a precedent on this.
Sure.
Okay. So a few years ago, in a Beyonce song, who's famously married to Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Right. Evidently, they had some marital concerns.
Sure.
And Jay-Z evidently fooled around with a woman who was known as Becky with the good hair.
So Becky with the good hair wound up in a song? So,
yes. Beyonce sang about her. Okay. Internet detectives were able to identify this person as Rachel Roy.
Okay.
Okay. Now, on top of this, right? So people saw that and they thought, oh, well, it's not this reporter, right? They think it's the famous girl from the Food Network, Rachel Ray.
Okay.
And so fans from the Beehive relentlessly went after this.
The Beehive are Beyonce's fans?
Yes.
Okay.
After this fucking food show host, who we all know, right, and attacked her mercilessly.
Yeah, no, Beyonce needs to step the fuck up in a situation. Let's say, step off
of a person that was incorrectly identified.
No, I get it. Yeah,
right.
So this case here is completely different. So because in this situation, like, so if Adele actually didn't out the guy, okay.
She could have said nothing. That's what I'm saying.
I get that. She could have said nothing, but I mean, if you're like a major singer, you probably do, hundreds of these a year, okay? These little interviews or whatnot. And so, sometimes you get candid on them, and sometimes you say things that you're not supposed to. So, or things that, put you in a situation where you could be in legal jeopardy. And particularly in this case, if she had actually said, oh, it was Bob, okay, who I dated in 2005. I don't think she's stupid enough to do that. So if Beyonce actually writes this song and says, well, nobody's going to identify this person, but then they actually do, I think then she has a public responsibility to actually speak up and say, hey, all you my fans out there, chill the fuck out with this, okay? And then if they don't, all right, well, who's going to take responsibility for that? Well, it's probably going to be Beyonce in that case. So,
but that's the thing, is the very nature of essentially putting this situation out there to weaponize your audience is problematic in general.
Yeah, but do you think that's what Adele was doing? She's like, go burn that guy's house down? I don't think so. So
I can't imagine. Nor again, and
I don't think Beyonce
didn't
is
do
doing
that
either.
Right?
Did Beyonce actually come out and say, hey, leave Rachel Ray alone?
I have no knowledge of that.
That would absolutely change my opinion on that one. So if she did that, okay, we're good.
Well, because then that would be to then say that, but leave her alone. She's not the guilty party, but feel free to pick on the
No, I would say leave everybody the fuck alone. It's a song that I wrote at a point in time in my life that was really difficult. I'm happy to share it with you all, but at the same point in time, that doesn't mean I need justice from you. Okay, I just want you to enjoy the song.
There you go.
There you go. Say something like that, you're clean in my book.
Right, and
So,
the original version of that cuts that off is, a song means what you think it means.
well, if she said that,
Then you cut that off at the beginning, and
Right,
most
yeah.
artists are smart enough to actually stop and say,
sure.
well, it means what you think it is.
But artists
it has
yeah.
personal meaning to everyone.
Yeah, but I mean, some people are a little bit more versed and kind of like experienced in the field than others.
Well,
So,
yes.
Yeah, and especially since you always have constant stream of new artists coming up. They're all going to make similar mistakes. I mean, like, weaponizing the internet is like, obviously, if you do that shit on purpose and, like go dox this guy, or something like that, or figure out where his kids go to school kind of thing. And if you're actually advocating for that, then yeah, you need to be responsible for all the harm that you actually cause that individual. So,
Well, actually, that's a question is, all right, do you feel that the very act of doxing, right? And let's talk about the difference between doxing and actually taking action.
sure,
right?
yeah.
So doxing is just the supplying of information about this person.
Yeah.
Most of it done via public record, to be honest with you. But
Yeah.
that's not necessarily true. A lot of that is just internet detective work.
Right, yeah.
Just looking at like Google Maps, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, got it. Do you feel that doxing itself is problematic?
Probably not on a certain level, but so there's like two things that it exposes you to if you're the person doing the doxing. Number one is potential harm, okay? And so if you actually, if you're the person who writes the post and you put it up there and it says, hey, this is this person's phone number, and it doesn't, or this is their address, and it doesn't turn into anything, then nobody probably has a claim against you, all right? Especially if they use public records.
Okay.
Now, if they hack your fucking computer, that's illegal. Okay, so
Yes, of course.
yeah, of course. All right, but if you like do a little bit of internet sleuthing and you can use public records to identify just about anybody, if you know what you're looking for and you know where to look, it actually doesn't take that long. So, that's fine. But you do expose yourself to potential harm. Okay, so or potential liability in that case, because if someone uses that fucking thing and then goes over there and murders that person, and then they says, well, they get caught, and they say, well, how'd you find this? And he says, well, I found it on this website, and it was posted by this dude. You're fucking liable in that case, and you should be held liable.
Why would you be liable?
Because you're the person who provided the instrumentality for that individual to commit that crime. So...
Not really.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
No way.
Yeah, no, fuck yeah.
How's that possible?
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm not going to get in the legal argument here. I'm going to tell you right now that any lawyer will tell you that you're fucked in that case. So you need to talk to them, all right?
It hasn't played out that way.
Well, no, I understand that. Usually because there's some kind of anonymity involved in it. So just because there's a technical anonymity involved in it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not liable. It just means they can't catch you. Those are two different things. So.
Oh no! I'm telling you that the people that actually provide the doxing, and I'm not talking about the illegal stuff where it's like this was obtained via non-public record kind of things, right? If this was anything that was like stolen or whatever, that's different, right? But in terms of posting things that are a public record, right, it's not a crime.
No, it's not a crime. But the question is like. So it would be like three different things. So first of all, it's not a crime, so it's not going to be statutory, so you're not going to go to jail for it. The question is, can they sue you for it? All right? So that's a different thing entirely. So, and that's the one thing, if the guy turned around and said, oh yeah, fucking, this guy posted that up, and they find you, even they get through the anonymity in some ways, they're going to make a judgment call on that one. They're going to take a look at you and say, oh, well, you've got 3 fucking houses, one in the Caymans. Yeah, we're coming after you. If they say, well, you're some 14-year-old toad in your parents' basement, okay, you don't have any assets to go over, they're not going to fucking bother. So, because really what you're going after here is a wrongful death suit. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. None of this. The problem here, Patrick, is that this stuff was already hashed out basically in the 80s and 90s when they had to decide exactly how they're going to treat paparazzi, right? Because all of this is an extension of this, and this comes to a question of, when do you have an expectation of privacy?
Sure.
Right? And so the whole argument here is anything that's public record. And this is where they've defended this because it's like, well, okay. It's
I guarantee you paparazzi have been sued. So
they have.
Yeah, especially like if they're part of a big, I guarantee that's happened.
Like TMZ guys, I'm sure.
Yeah, and so I mean that's kind of my point. So if you're the person who's responsible for that and you actually have assets behind you, I bet you that you could probably convince some lawyers to actually come after you on that one.
But the thing is, those guys usually get sued as a result of what they're presenting as being defamatory or basically turns out to be untrue.
Yeah.
Right? That's actually shit. The lawsuits on this have been fascinating, especially when it comes to like say for example the Covington kids. Perfect example.
I don't know what that is.
So if you can remember, this would be 5-6 years ago, there was that group of kids that went to, I think it was the nation's capital, right? Mm-hmm. And
was this the Indian with the drum?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You mean Covington, Kentucky?
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and basically, the like, okay, well, you guys presented it as this. Mm-hmm. These are the actual facts of the case. Yeah. You didn't, this. So, give me my $525 million, and here you go, right? Because ultimately, they won the case.
Yeah, it was for defamation.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I'm saying is that the cases against like your TMZs and your paparazzis have been defamation.
I guarantee you there's probably some tort cases in there that have involved like direct harm that was actually exerted upon. Like if the paparazzi chases down somebody in a car and they get a car accident, the whole idea behind it is if not for being chased, we wouldn't be going that fast. And so you open yourself to liability.
Well, you're talking about basically the Princess Di situation.
Yeah, but I mean,
But it didn't all change after.
Well, that's in fucking Britain. I don't know the laws there, man. Actually, that one's in France. So, I mean,
that's true.
Who the fuck knows, man?
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you that, like, if I wanted to avoid, all right, if I wanted to avoid a lawsuit, I would not do that. Okay.
Well, no.
Right. And so, well, that actually,
okay, yeah, I got
that. Actually governs a lot of how I think about things. It was like, well, how would this look in front of a jury of 12 of my peers? Okay, so even interpretation in the law in a situation like that, if they took a look at that and they say, oh, well, Pat posted this guy's address and, so he was like a minister or something like that who was beloved in the community and some asshole went out there and murdered him. And they said, well, Pat gave me the address. I guarantee you I'm getting fucking sued in that case. Even if it was public record, maybe I'm the person who did the digging for it. Okay, it's like, well, okay, it's public record, but not everybody and their fucking, dog goes to look through like 3 decades worth of real estate records to find this guy. All right, and so obviously you have some kind of intent, all right, at that point in time to actually like out this guy in one way or another. Well, he lived down in Broadmoor, okay, and if you're the person who says that, all right, I can't imagine a situation where they wouldn't come after you. All right, especially if I'm sitting on $1 million nest egg somewhere. So
they don't. I mean, that's the thing is
Jeff, I don't know that. So you say they don't. I say I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go through the millions of cases out there to see if there's actually one like that. I'm just saying I can make a case for it, and I bet you just about any lawyer could. So,
but the question is okay, so this is the same thing where essentially, like, I can give you, examples of ridiculous lawsuits. I can tell you about the person in California
happen every day
that sued the state of California because they referred to her brother as an inmate, and she found that the term inmate suggested that he was gay, and therefore sued the state of California. And what happens is they throw it out. Right? You hear about the lawsuit. The question is not whether you can sue anybody or present this. It's a question about if it gets in front of a judge and they say this doesn't have any merit, right?
Yeah.
So here's what I'm saying here is that this kind of stuff hasn't been going to like trial, or at least if it has been so ill reported, right? Because this is not, it's like, look, it's public information.
Well, I guarantee you with like TMZ and stuff like that, they settle. And so, and part of that's an NDA. And so neither party talks about it to the press. So, and I can see the same situation occurring in something like if like it would have to be a pretty egregious thing. I think they'd come after you. But my point here is that just because it's not necessarily illegal does not shield you from liability. So it could still be negligence.
They could still sue you, but at the same time,
and win. I think they could win some of those.
Look, the only ones that they've actually managed to, the only one that you've seen a change on, okay, and I can actually point you to this in the past 10 years because they've made rulings on this, effective changes, is the concept of revenge porn has disappeared entirely.
Yeah.
Almost entirely.
Yeah.
Why? Because they have decided that there was an expectation of privacy when the two of you were together, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where they've made a ruling on that. But on the other hand,
I think that one's low-hanging fruit. So, yeah.
Well, you know what's funny is I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I mean,
so with you to post naked pictures of me, that was, taken in the complete privacy.
Well,
I mean, maybe now after like Civ and
is,
stuff, you wouldn't have an expectation.
This
of
is a weird thing. Is like there's part of me that says like, all right, I got it, and I understand it, and I see where this is absolute harm, and it's sort of a look. I'll argue this that number one, you shouldn't do it. Right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, but as to the point of where like should you be legally liable for it, I don't know. I have a hard time with that, right? It's not. I'm going to say this: it's not something that's even interested in me as a person, right? I don't find that kind of stuff, hidden camera stuff or anything like that. I actually find like degrading. I don't like that, right? Yeah. But in terms of stepping in and saying legally, all right, well, you consented to being filmed.
Yeah. But you didn't.
If it was you were not consenting, 100%, I understand.
Yeah, but this is kind of like two wrongs make a third wrong. So
Yeah, and I guess it doesn't hurt my feelings, but I was like, all right, but I can't justify.
Yeah, I guess it's the second wrong in that case. It's like, all right, so you guys probably shouldn't post pictures of yourself or send pictures to yourself over unsecured internet. Got it. Okay. So, but it's the second act where it's like literally
it's deliberate.
Like, yes. So that's why I think that one's pretty low hanging fruit. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm sure states have passed laws about that. That would actually be really interesting. So, do certain states have actual specific statutes against posting information with the intent to cause harm? I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me because of just certain. Different rules, like I remember on some shows where they used to do like prank calls. You can't
only do that in some states.
You can't because like, both parties have to agree to being recorded.
Yeah. Single party states, yeah.
So I mean, but at the same time, that's sort of like I would say that's a privacy thing. I would say that's a.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I haven't seen anything like that, but state law is not something I really...
No, because you have to know 50 of them.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why most lawyers only know one. Yeah. So, because, I mean, like, all your criminal code's going to be under your state laws anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So it could vary from state to state. I guarantee you there's states out there that have laws protecting people against doxing at this point in time. So... Or swatting. I bet you if you swat somebody now at this point in time in most states, that's highly illegal, and they probably charge you everything that they cost and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
Well, the thing is that existed before.
Right. Yeah.
Because calling in a false police report was illegal.
Yeah. So that was just a short hop in terms of like actually using.
It's just what way are you doing it? Yes.
To apply to a current circumstance, but yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, like I find the argument that like, all right, so just because it's public information, I find that pretty weak. I find that technically it's probably true, but it sounds like ground that I wouldn't want to stand on in that situation. So I wouldn't bet my house against that.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is the problem I have with it is, so when they showed all the protesters hanging out in front of the house, like Clarence Thomas's house and all this other shit.
Whose house?
Clarence Thomas's, following the, actually.
It was Brett Kavanaugh, wasn't it?
Well, him too, but like, basically, remember when the information got leaked about the...
Yeah.
Okay. There were protesters lined up in front of their homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's specifically illegal.
But the point is, it wasn't.
No, it is.
No, it is.
Yeah.
But it...
Didn't the cops break those up?
No.
I thought they did.
No, they did not.
Or did they evacuate Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, for him, they made an assassination
threat.
Right.
Yeah.
That's different.
Protesting on a judge's house is distinctly illegal.
Well,
so.
Here's the thing. It turned out that it wasn't.
Okay. I thought that it was.
Nope.
Okay. Those people aren't going to get prosecuted?
Nope.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
I mean, it took over a year and a half to kind of chew through all the January 6th people. You know, this machine does not turn like on, 40 days notice.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
The thing is, it should be illegal, but it's not.
That's contrary to what I've heard, so.
Bro, I mean, here's the thing, because if...
where did you read that? So
I can show you the people that were there, right?
Okay.
And ultimately here, if it's illegal, they would have swept them up immediately.
I don't know about that. I mean...
What?
Yeah.
If it's illegal to protest in front of a judge's home, right?
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing, is the argument is that the point that they were trying to make is that this is attempting to influence a judge's decision via, but it turned out it wasn't illegal.
I wonder why.
Because that's where it interferes with people's rights to assembly, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that would have to be hashed out in courts over the course of a couple of years. So, my understanding is that protests at a judge's house who's making a ruling, at least on the federal level, if not on all the states, is distinctly illegal.
It should be illegal as shit.
I think it is. So, but
I'm telling you, they would have been. It's the Supreme
You're saying
Court,
the would have thing, but okay, so I'm not defending the dudes. I'm just walking through the arguments. Okay, here, all right. So I'm not defending. I think it's bullshit that they did that. All right, totally up to that. But I can't envision a situation where that's not illegal. But if it isn't illegal, then why isn't there at least precedent on this that individuals could cite that would say, okay, well, it's illegal in this circumstance, but not in this one. Okay, so I don't know anything about that. I'm not saying it's not out there. I just don't know about it. All right, your argument is that, well, the cops should have swooped in like the fucking 101st.
They would have had fed goons.
Well, how many people were there? How many people were protesting? Was it 50? Was it 1,000? So was it 5? All those things matter. All right. So if it's 5, they're going to slide tackle them and carry them in.
It was in the realm of 50 to 100.
Okay. So that takes a lot of police presence. How long was the protest? Was it 20 minutes? Was it 2 days?
Days.
Was it days?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I don't recall the news being that way, but I'm going to trust you on this one. So it's days. They're outside of Brett Kavanaugh's house. All right. So are the feds watching them? So are there cops setting up barricades around them?
No.
Okay, why not?
Because they were allowed to protest.
Do they have a permit to protest there?
I didn't look up the permit.
See, that's my point. There's a million different details associated with this. You're immediately jumping to this conclusion that, since, it's the Supreme Court and they made an unpopular ruling amongst the left and lefty reporters were out there and lefty fucking protesters were out there. So obviously we're ignoring this entire issue, because the FBI is corrupted by this shit. But give it some time, man. I mean, there might be some folks in there who's oh, okay, there's 3 or 4 ringleaders amongst you. All right, let's Michigan this bitch.
No, dude. Okay, so let me put it to you this way. Okay, Are you telling me that there's any version of that where that would have happened outside of Biden's house? No fucking way.
Biden's? You mean the White House?
Or any of his private properties. Okay? Anywhere where he was staying.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that the federal agents wouldn't have swept those guys away, or the Secret Service would have made those dudes
if he was the sitting president? Yeah, they would.
I'm telling you that. So, and that's what I'm saying is...
Well, maybe not. I mean...
The Supreme Court should have that same protection.
I think they do. So, And I can show you where they didn't. Yeah, but I'm sorry, man. I'm just not buying it. So if it's as cut and dry as you said, all right, in some respects, it's just I have difficulty believing that, especially if it's against a specific law. So now I can get it. Okay, they didn't slide tackle and beat the shit out of these people, kind of thing. And okay, so maybe there's not an open public presence on what's going on here. But okay, if they actually violated the law, and if you're in a situation where you're interfering with the Supreme Court's business and stuff like that, all right, I find it difficult to believe that even Joe Biden could say, stop everything, okay? So, you're not allowed to look into this. There's nothing to see here. I don't think he has that kind of power. I don't think the Democrats have that kind of power. So I guarantee you that even if it's in a situation where, Brett Kavanaugh's house, where is it located? Is it in Maryland somewhere, I'm assuming?
I don't know the exact address.
Well, then it would be, maybe it's a local jurisdiction at that point in time. It's like, hey, man, okay, we're working on this, but nobody's shown up to our press conference, that we're doing at this point in time because, well, quite honestly, it's not going to drive any news because justice takes a while to actually administer.
No, it's about his home, though.
Okay.
Look. Here's the thing: is regardless of whatever the decision is, okay. Look, these are 9 people. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not asking about protection for hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, they did the same shit out in front of governors' homes and stuff like this. I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's a little different.
But what I'm telling you here is that you got 9 people, and trust me, if they're just trying to block off a street to get to the Supreme Court justice's home, that's not hard. That's not.
Yeah, but
a few cops in riot gear outfits, just nope, you're not going here. You're not allowed.
Yeah.
I guarantee you that's something. 9 dudes. I guarantee you they have protective services too.
Yeah, is it the Secret Service?
I don't think so. I think it's their own group.
Yeah.
But I don't know, right? But that would not be hard for them to say no, you can't do this.
Yeah.
And
so what actually happened to Kavanaugh? Did he just sit in his house for 2 days?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if he fled. I don't know what the whole
was
situation
he even home?
You got me. I'm talking about the actual protest, not the assassination attempt.
So how many justices' houses were protested?
I think it was 4.
It was 4 of them?
It was Thomas's. It was.
Were there any arrests performed at any of them?
If you're asking me right off the top of my head, I would probably say yes, because somebody probably got unruly, or there were some scuffles. But I don't know. Here's the thing:
were they peaceful protests?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing if you're not allowed to do that, they would have been swept out. I promise you. I promise you.
No,
that's not even a second, because you're not going to sit there and wait for this to potentially get violent, right?
Well, and that doesn't mean that the cops weren't there. So.
Yeah, but at the same.
Were the cops there at these?
I didn't see.
I mean, if there's a line of 10 cops.
There was private security.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Private security or
hired
goons. Yes. Or was it Secret Service guy or whoever the DOJ guy?
I heard it was private security, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that might be contracted out kind of thing.
Yeah, where it was they're just protecting the front of the home.
Yeah.
Right? But that's what I'm saying here is you don't, when it comes to, that's the same thing. They wouldn't let those dudes hang out in front of Biden's house because all it takes is one dude to have a grenade. Okay, or one dude to throw a Molotov cocktail or something, right?
But I don't think it's necessarily a police procedure if you've got a peaceful protest to immediately slide tackle everybody in it.
No,
just because they're breaking a statute.
But that's what I'm saying is because their address is public record, they're allowed to peaceably assemble. Okay, in this area.
Really, the Supreme Court, their addresses are public record?
How did they get there then?
Oh, I don't fucking know. But I would think if anybody in the United States had a secret address, I mean, fuck, my wife was a DA. She could delist her address. So I guarantee you that their address is not public record.
Well, I get you on that. But at the same time, it's
you could probably figure out where they are.
Did you get a credit card? Did you get, there's any number?
No.
DMV. You'll get that information, right?
Yeah.
So
you could probably figure it out. I mean, see, there's only 9 of them, so you probably tail one of them if you really want to know where they live.
Pretty much.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying here is if just the merit of that being public record in one way or another, right?
I don't think they're the one's public record. I'd be surprised.
They have it. Well, something about it is public record. I can say that.
Well, it's public now.
Well, that too. Right?
So if it's a peaceful look, I mean, I don't know enough about police procedure, but I'm not going to agree with you that they'd actually just run in there and crush it immediately. So if a peaceful protest, even if it's an illegal protest, if it's an unpermitted protest, I don't think it's police procedure to actually run in there, but it's going to depend on the department. It's going to depend on the call from the Supreme Court at that point in time. I'm sure they would have a say in that. So meaning the actual justice, saying, hey, you want us to take all these guys down? Kind of thing, or something like that, or if they weren't home, this is my point why you can't trust fucking shit that you read anymore, is because nobody gives you the goddamn details. So you get everything summarized in 5-paragraph form anymore, and it becomes okay, so I'm going to give you all the facts in the first paragraph, and I'm going to spend the next 4 telling you why this is bullshit, or why I disagree with this, or why this makes Joe Biden awesome. So, and it's fucking horrible, man, because the whole Jeff Bezos thing that I illustrated before, this whole thing that's going on with Mar-a-Lago, you can't get the straight story on it because everything has to be viewed through a political lens anymore.
Absolutely.
So, and it's goddamn frustrating because I really wish you could answer some of these questions for me. I wish you could tell me who was there, who was involved, how big were they, were there cops there, did they have permits for these things? Were the addresses obtained legally or illegally? So these are all things that fucking matter and would actually color my opinion on this.
Well, that's of course, Patrick, that of course is sort of on me then to have looked up those particular details, right? Whereas that was not the major cause of the story. The major emphasis of the story is whether or not, Supreme Court justices are protected from having their opinions swayed by protests. Yeah. Right? Because if they were, there would not be a single protester on that street. Because you cannot threaten I can tell you, you're not allowed to threaten a judge with any kind of violence or intimidation. No. Right? In order to sway an opinion. That is patently illegal. Yeah. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
I imagine that would include a derogatory sign or anything that remotely seemed like a threat. I don't know.
Yeah, okay? it would have to be pretty. I mean, I actually think that a judge or any DA's office would actually interpret that fairly liberally.
Probably.
So, and that just leads me to the question is all right, so we know that's true for local justices. So we know that's true for state justices. If it's not true for federal justices, is it because that's not actually in the law? Or is it because, so it's a coordinated thing. It happens at 4 different justices on the same 2 nights.
I think it was 4, but yeah, this went on for a while, man.
I don't remember it going on for a long time. I remember it being a thing for a night. So,
One night?
Yeah, and I thought that, Kavanaugh had to jet his home. I think Clarence Thomas wasn't actually home when it happened. And the other one was Amy Coney Barrett, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. She was protested as well. But I don't remember it turning into, this, thing that was, equivalent to, the Portland riots or anything like that. And so it didn't catch that much attention. And so that's why I'm thinking, all right, so if they're peaceful protests, we find 2 or 3 organizers, we take their pictures so we can establish that they were actually present here. Now we're going to go out there and actually establish that they had intent to do something to specifically break the law. Okay, at this point in time, show up at Clarence Thomas's home, all right, and throw some rocks or something like that. It's all right, so we're going to arrest you, all right, but then it happens 4 weeks later, and then nobody knows anything about it.
Okay, here, I'll give you this from NPR. Okay. So
NPR,
NPR, all right?
They're going to be a little bit on the side of these guys were peacefully protesting. Let me guess.
Well, here's what they're reporting. All right. Okay, I'll just give you the facts about what they're reporting.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so the Supreme Court marshal asked state officials to act on protests at judges' homes.
Okay.
In a series of letters sent over the weekend, the marshal of the U.S. Supreme Court called on officials in Maryland and Virginia to enforce state and local laws. She wrote, prohibit picketing outside of the homes of Supreme Court justices.
Okay.
So they already exist. For weeks on end, large groups of protesters chanting slogans, using bullhorns, and banging drums have picketed justices' homes in Virginia. This is exactly the kind of conduct that Virginia law prohibits.
Yeah.
Okay. So Here's the thing. That's already illegal.
Right.
They're not enforcing it.
Why?
I don't know.
Well, you're insinuating a reason.
Well,
what's your thinking? Why do you think that is? I'm curious.
Why do I think that is?
Why do you think that is?
Number one, because it's a headache. Number one, okay, because
I think
I'm going to start out with this just in terms of like inconvenience. Breaking up a protest is generally self-defeating. Okay?
Can be.
Oftentimes it leads to worse situations than just letting it fetter out and letting these people get angry about something else. The protests, like those roving gangs of Amazon workers, will eventually move to somewhere else. Okay?
Overtime in Omaha.
Well, I'm telling you, like when my original fears of the riots was, wow, they need to start shooting people. I was like, no, actually, it turns out that letting it peter out was probably a smarter idea, and that's why I'm not in government. Because as soon as I see disorder, I'm like, oh, Gestapo, these people.
Right,
Like, I don't want a single hardware store burned, right? And apologize to that park bench. But ultimately here, the laws are on the books, okay? They elected not to enforce it.
Sounds like they're state laws.
State and local, right?
Okay.
All right. But, and that's where part of the issue came in was, but these are federal judges.
Right.
So where is the protection on that?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it didn't kick in on any level. And like you said, it's not 2 nights.
Yeah.
Weeks on
No,
end.
you're right. Okay. That's good to know.
And they didn't sweep the place out.
Yeah.
Because all it takes, like I said, is one homemade explosive.
Right.
Okay. In a group of protesters. And this turns into a bloodbath.
Yeah, it could.
It didn't.
Well, yeah, I'd be surprised if the justices were actually there for those weeks. So.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I don't think
wouldn't
we're
go
supposed to
home
know.
in that
No, I
point.
wouldn't either. So, yeah.
But you should not be afraid to go home if this is the case. If you're, and that's what I'm saying here is ultimately the information they have on these guys. That's doxing.
Yeah.
That's doxing.
Yeah.
And as a result of it, the law was broken in terms of picketing these guys.
Yeah.
Right. So nobody's getting sued.
When this happened?
I don't know.
I think it was March, wasn't it?
I don't remember the exact day. But yeah, this is June 3rd. Or July 3rd.
What?
That's when this article was written. I
thought it was like March. Wasn't it when the leak came out?
May.
All right. So it's September. 4 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's wait on that a little bit.
I mean, I guess that's the thing. What's to wait on is
justice. If they broke laws, they got pictures of them, they figured out who actually doxed them and stuff like that. I'd be kind of surprised if they don't go after those people. Especially,
how many fucking people in those protests and those riots, were picked up and let go?
I don't know.
Tons.
Yeah. So they know who they are. Yeah.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying is, yes, you selectively enforce it. This is the thing that's going on in DeSantis' area, right?
Well, are they selectively enforcing it or are they reconning it? You know? I mean, that's like...
They were selectively enforcing it. Come on, man.
What? You mean in Maryland?
And like, again, to go back to the riots, when they were just letting people
I'm not talking about that, man.
But this is what I'm talking about.
That was totally different. You're talking about thousands of people who are throwing bottles every night. So...
But they broke the law.
I get it, they broke the law, and you get it, that, you know, he should go fucking shoot them all and stuff like that. But man, I mean, like, I don't know, man. There's been a lot of things going on in the last, like, 6 months to a year that have really kind of, like, I've learned not to jump on things right on the bat. And then you give it a little bit of time. And some shit's... So, like, the January 6th thing is a good example of this. Okay? Like, okay, it was a huge fucking deal, and everybody's, like, you know, on the left, string all these people up, fucking prosecute them to the wall. There's been very few prosecutions out of that thing. You know? So, and I mean, most of our things like, yeah, you can't take the speaker's fucking laptop. You know? But it's taken a year and a half for people to actually sort all that shit out. Okay.
And there are people going to jail over it.
Absolutely. And there are people who should go to jail for it. Okay. So I'm sorry, it's closed today and you're not allowed to take that fucking fence rail over there and throw it the window. Got it. All right.
I agree.
Yeah. Let's make sure we have exactly the guy who did that. All right. And so, because that's something that we can exactly pin him with, not the other 25 or 5,000 people there or whatever. I don't even think it was that many. So,
yes, but why were these people held indefinitely without bail?
Well, that would be up to the individual judges. So in those cases, so and I don't think that was true for all of them.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into that. That's we're already over. So this is going to be another like huge can of worms if we open this up. But
yeah,
all right.
Well, neither of us are lawyers, so we should probably shut the fuck up.
No, this is our platform. Fuck hey, man. Like, where else are we going to get to spread our own thoughts? It's not like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know, man. So it's so funny how many times I say something and then I go ask my wife and then she just like completely sorts me out. Just like, oh, you dummy. We learned that in like the first week of law school.
Look, I totally understand it, right? And I'm not here to make any news networks talking points here, right? I'm going to say here, like, look, if you want to have some uniformity, yes, I'd have no problem if they're like, look, if we catch you doing this, okay, if you know goddamn well you're not supposed to be in the Capitol building.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You know that, all right? So we're going to nail you to the wall.
Yeah.
But the same thing goes like, okay, but somehow torching the T-Mobile and doing this, no. If you get caught, your ass should be nailed to the wall too.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, I have a problem. Yeah, Patrick, you're like, Jeffrey, your problem here is you're trying to reconcile hypocrisy. And you can't do that.
Right, yeah.
You're asking your pedestrian brain to smooth out the lines of humanity.
Your problem is your brain is really, really too smart for your own good. So,
not even close.
No, I disagree with you. You're way smarter than me, man. And so, like, it's much easier for me to walk away from shit like that and say, oh, that's important. It's not my problem.
No. The smart... No. This is a problem.
My brain just doesn't have room to process that,
No.
It's a RAM problem.
It's not even a RAM problem because you're right. Because even my Goodyear guy said, not my problem. You're going to mess up your tumbler. I know that, right? And taking on the country's problems or me getting my blood all, biled up like this is clearly out of the realm of things that are within my control, right?
Right.
I know it's like, well, what's most important? It's my 5 feet around me. And if I look outside, I got a lot of fucking weeds in my yard. And I'm sitting there complaining about, like, protesters.
But you got a very, very happy dog right now.
She's awesome.
She's within your 5 foot reach right now.
But my 5 foot radius isn't exactly perfect, so I'm not here to sit there and say, like, wow, they need to clean the windows at the Capitol.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Fuck that shit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, anyway.
Well, then, I mean... I don't know. Well, the only thing I would say is just give it some time, man. So
I refuse.
I know, and that's why I love you, buddy.
No, it's a gratification or nothing. Yeah. Any thoughts?
I just gave mine. You get one though. So.
So I bought a box of butterscotch tasty cakes.
Ooh.
Not that great.
Not recommend.
If you're going to buy one sweet in the week, do better.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. Butterscotch tasty cakes.
Yeah.
Not a winner.
No, I actually have to give you props for something. I actually switched to fresh broccoli.
It's a world of difference.
You told me that years ago. You're totally right. So,
and you're gonna feel better eating that stuff too.
Yeah. It's great. So, and it's way cheaper than I thought it was.
Way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay. Great.
Practically giving it away.
Begging. Yes.
So all right. I'm Pat.
I'm Jeffrey.
Hitting the button.
All right.